This is Marriage Unhindered. Here's your host, Doug Hinderer.
Hey, welcome to Marriage Unhindered. I must correct the announcer, however. This is not Marriage Unhindered with Doug Hinderer. This is Marriage Unhindered with Doug Hinderer and Monica Hinderer, ace daughter and therapist, because it's Thursday and Monica stopped by to visit. And so we slapped some headphones on her and we're having a conversation.
Just chit-chatting.
Just chit-chatting about like really deep kinds of things. Today is a pretty deep topic, in my opinion. So, as you know, this is the show where we tackle all things marriage-related. And when Monica's here, child-rearing, family-related as well. Monica, licensed clinical professional counselor. All right, today we're going to tackle a relatively, I would call it a brand new problem for parents to deal with. And that is their children's interaction online with a chatbot. The landscape has changed, perhaps not for the better, but it is what it is. And this is where we're living. This is the world we've got to navigate. A recent article appeared in the Institute for Family Studies newsletter titled AI Chatbots for Kids, a New Imaginary Friend or Foe. This article was written by Emily Harrison. So here she goes. For many children, an imaginary friend or role-playing is a normal, healthy part of child development. As a little girl, I would often carry around my favorite doll, pretending I was the mommy and she was the baby. My pretend play was limited to my own creativity, but also by what I knew from the world around me. Largely, I mimicked how my mother cared for my baby sister or what I saw in picture books that filled our home. There are, of course, similarities to how I played as a young girl and how kids play today, but one striking difference has emerged thanks to the internet. Imaginary friends have now moved online in the form of AI chatbots. Before these new playthings become a rite of passage, many parents might be asking, are these new imaginary creatures friend or foe? Now, for those of you like me who had no idea what a chatbot was, I looked it up.
You Googled it.
I Googled it.
Proud of you.
Here's what Mr. Google had to say. It is a software application designed to simulate human-like conversation through text or voice. It uses artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and sometimes machine learning to interpret user inputs and respond appropriately. Advanced chatbots can learn from interactions to provide tailored responses and recommendations.
Yeah, so I would say, to kind of put it in layman's terms, it's like an advanced interactive Siri or Alexa.
Yeah, really advanced, right?
Yeah, well, it's going to interact with you in a more human or conversational way.
Right, so that's the thing, right? So these kids, they get on there and they develop, now they have a friend. I imagine they name the friend. I got Herbie the chatbot friend or something, right?
Sure.
And now he and I are conversing. I find that to be a little bit scary. Now, I think developing an imagination is an important thing. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there are so many benefits to an imagination and to children being bored and having to learn how to entertain themselves. So what you were just reading is speaking to imaginary friends, which there's a lot of reasons why imaginary friends can pop up for little kids, but if we're just going to stick to the lens of thinking that this is developing their imagination, we see cognitive developments, emotional developments, social developments, even spiritual developments that happen in a child exercising their imagination through play.
Yeah, exactly. And normally I am playing with another human being or with myself.
Well, with yourself.
Right? I'm creating my own fictitious world.
Which is important because here's what happens when I have to be the creator of everything.
Yeah.
So I'm creating the dialogue. I'm creating the narrative. I'm creating these fake scenes and outcomes.
Yeah.
We see children who engage in imaginative play are better at problem solving. They're better at creativity. Even language development increases in this time. They're a little bit better at emotional regulation. And even self-expression, which is fun, right? Because you see their ability, like their personality comes out in the scenes in which they create. And then it really kind of teaches them a lot of they're working through in real time some of the things that they're learning and they're seeing. As she said, right, she role played with her doll the way that mom treated the babies. And so we're seeing perspective taking, role playing, creativity, even moral development. We see start to emerge in this kind of new development that this child is going through.
Right, which is how children can learn to entertain themselves when they are alone and bored, right? Now they don't have to do that. They just turn out a screen and now they get entertained. But also, if we're playing make-believe or dress up or whatever with my friend, now we're role-playing together in a fictitious thing. But I'm learning how to negotiate and get along with another human being who has emotions, who might get upset or happy or frustrated or angry or whatever, and I've got to learn how to navigate emotions with another person.
Exactly. And we see really important cognitive development, social development in this, and then even spiritual and existential development. We need kids to kind of question and challenge and engage in play that creates awe and curiosity. And if we can create that space within our child, latching on to an understanding of religion or God or a higher power is easier for those kids who have engaged in creative and imaginative play.
Yes. I mean, I agree 100%, right? Because God isn't a physical entity, right? He exists in my imagination, in my intelligence. And if I develop a good imagination and really develop that part of my brain, it's easier for me to, embrace the concept of God, who's a spiritual being, right? I think there's real positive there. All right, so a little bit of data here about chatbots. According to a 2025, well, that's about as recent as you can get, Common Sense Media report, of the 5 to 8-year-olds who used AI, 5 to 8-year-olds, that's awfully young, 10% have engaged in a conversation with a chatbot. With over 50% of children under the age of 4 now having their own tablet. That number just floors me. Their own tablet under the age of 4. We should expect to see a sharp rise in the rates of digital imaginary friends in the coming years. In fact, teenagers who are already using generative AI, presumably on their personal or school-issued devices, 51% have engaged with AI text generators or chatbots. And alarmingly, only 37% of the parents are aware that their kids are using AI. Okay? All right, so then she goes on. Without much fanfare, AI chatbots have been rolled into multitudes of apps and websites used by the under-18 crowd. Even Pinwheel Company advertises their phones as designed for kids and managed by parents, now offers an AI chatbot app across its platforms. Chatbots are being marketed directly to young people, although age ratings in app stores continue to be misleading and dangerous. A report by Sensor Tower showed more than 3,000 apps mention AI for the first time last year in 2024, including more than 500 games and more than 300 utilities and education apps. It is fair to say the AI chatbot train has left the station. Determining which apps do or do not have a chatbot function will require careful daily oversight by informed parents. So that's the tough thing. All right, so the chatbots are here to stay. They've moved into the neighborhood.
Well, I think that technology and social media and all of these things, they're not the enemy, but we have to learn how to use them for the good.
Because if you don't, there are people out there using them for the bad, right? And so we need to you just need to know. We're going to just understand what the good and the bad is and give our kids the skills to make good choices. So let's go out to Boston to John. Hello, John.
Hey there. So my kids aren't in the age range that you're talking about, but I have 3, and their oldest is 23, youngest is 19, and we didn't give them smartphones until they went into high school. And I would even say that that's even too young. And even though I'm in technology and I put all the controls on it that you would expect, they still find ways around them. So there's almost nothing that you can do to prevent them from, it's almost like if you took a 14-year-old and you invited the world in, that's what you're doing by handing them one of these phones. Now, when I was a kid, we were younger, you had 3 or 4 or 5 television stations unless you got cable, and that's the only way you got some of this content. Now we're giving it to our kids, And I tell you, they thanked me for not having given it to them, even though they were upset
at the time.
when they were in middle school.
Yeah,
they're glad that they didn't get it, but they still, ran into the same issues. And being in technology, I can tell you, chatbots and AI are here to stay, and they're just going to get more and more ubiquitous.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, John, thanks so much. I appreciate because you're a credible source because you're in the industry. Yeah, and I agree. Monica, how old were you when you got a smartphone? I don't recall.
Smartphone?
Yeah.
They weren't even around until I was in college.
Oh, okay. All
and
right.
my first smartphone was extremely limited. I don't think I had an iPhone until I was in my early 20s.
Okay. Got it. All right. And so when did you get a phone, though?
I got a phone. I got a flip phone.
There you go, flip phone.
In 7th grade because I took the public bus. And it was for
on
safety.
The public bus. So that was kind of our thing, right? If you're on public transportation, we wanted you to have that.
Yeah, but there was no internet, and I had 5 free calls a month and 20 text messages.
Life was
I don't
better.
know. It was very different.
All right, John, thanks so much for your call. I'm on your side. I agree. I think the longer, it's a maturity thing. And
well, it's a development thing. We could say maturity, but I think kids, I'm imagining if I was told you're not mature enough for this, I think I'd be pretty offended by that as a child. And so Is it about maturity? You may have a really mature kiddo who it still doesn't have their prefrontal cortex developed because that's just not going to develop till their mid-20s. It's just not. And so, we want to set our kids up for success. And so it's kind of the name of the game is really moderation. And it's probably one of the hardest skills to teach your children, right? And the way that you teach a 10-year-old moderation is to model it. And the question is, how many parents are actually legitimately modeling healthy technology moderation?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
How many of us are addicted to our phones, right? So you teach the 10-year-old through your own moderation of how you interact with this, right? We demystify it, we interact with it well, and so forth. And then maybe they get to kind of have a phone every now and then, so forth. And so we increase exposure as they get older to increase their ability to regulate and moderate.
That's good. All right. Thank you, John, for your call. Appreciate it. And I think you're showing some great wisdom there. And hopefully a lot of our listeners will agree. Parents need to be just diligent. And maybe the bar is my kids' time spent in a computer screen getting in the way of time they could spend with real-life human being friends? Mm-hmm. And if so, give me the screen, go outside to the park and play. Go find a kid. But the parks are empty now.
Well, but I think we're going to start to see that shift and change. And so we could sit here and complain that the parks are empty, or we can do something about it and we can gather our friends. We could gather our friends or enroll your kids in programs. Now, I would say that what we want to do is we don't want to demonize anything because then it kind of creates this allure, right? That's going to draw our kids in. What we want to be able to say is that these things are a tool. They're one way of social connection. I want to make sure you're getting all the ways of social connection. So I'm going to roll you in activities. I'm going to invite friends over. I'm going to make sure that mom and dad are also doing this, right? I'm modeling friendship. I'm modeling community. I'm engaged in these activities. We're going to go to church and we're going to get involved. We're going to do volunteer projects. So I think in some ways, we want to look at it for what it's designed for, and we want to make sure we're using it for that. And then we want to supplement an abundance of good in other ways.
I got you. Right. So I guess the warning is, again, this is just one more attractant that exists in the internet space, right? I had games. Now I got a friend too, right? So it's one more thing that can attract our kids into this world of me and the screen and away from the world of me and my friends. And so you just got to look out for it. It's a dangerous thing. Let's end with a quick memorare for the couple that most needs it. Join me, please. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thy intercession left unaided. Inspired with this confidence, fly to thee, O Virgin of Virgins, our Mother. To thee do we come, before thee we stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not our petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer us. Amen. Thank you for being part of today's show. I hope you gained some great knowledge and value out of this. Monica, thanks for being with me, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
My daughter friend. And have a good night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Like what you just heard? Share it with your family and friends.